Buttons and dials. Not a lot of buttons and dials. Hey guys, Omar here, and today we're going to discuss things you should expect when using the Fujifilm X-E4. The first thing you notice about this camera is, first of all, it's a very attractive camera, that it's beautiful and well designed. And then the second thing you notice about the camera is, where's the rear dial? Where are the function buttons? Where's the autofocus switch on the front? Now, we also have to thank B&H because they're so awesome. I'm like, hello, can we try a Fujifilm X-E4? And they're like, yes. So to thank them, you're going to have to click the link below and just buy the Fujifilm or anything else from B&H to tell them that we love them. Thank you for letting us play with the X-E4. And yeah. So the Fujifilm X-E4 is a 26 megapixel APS-C camera from Fujifilm. It has wonderful Fujifilm film simulations. So one of the best things about these cameras is you can shoot JPEG straight out of camera. And so the images I'm going to show you today are JPEG straight out of camera. And the only thing I've added is a little bit of a film curve. All right, so my little list. The first things that you should expect is a reduction in buttons and dials. So if you've come from another Fujifilm camera, the X-E, the biggest one to me was the reduction of the rear dial. And not so much that I'm using the rear dial to change my settings. It's that recently, one of you commented on that I should do this, and it works great, is to use the rear dial, which pushes in, as a back button focus. So if you're a back button focuser, I was using on my older cameras like the X-T2, one of the tiny little buttons on there, and one of you recommended the rear dial push-in, and I've changed it on all my Fujifilm cameras and love it. And it's funny, the first thing I noticed about this one is like, So I had to I was more comfortable shooting this camera with a shutter AF as opposed to sort of, because the camera's a little hard to hold, using one of the back buttons. Next thing to expect is you're going to need some grip assistance. The camera is a little hard to hold in the hand. You should also have a wrist strap at all times with this camera because it is a little slippery. If you have this X-E2 just fits in the hand really well and it has a little bit of a grip. So you're going to need some grip assistance. What does that mean? The first thing is make sure you have a wrist strap in case you drop it. The second thing you should pick up is a little thumb holder, which really gives you a good grip on there. And then Fujifilm actually just has it does have an accessory that you can put on to actually give the camera a little bit better of a grip. Now, the good thing about that is if you put the smallest lens on the Fujifilm, this 27 millimeter, the camera without any grips becomes more pocketable. And I like that. I like that it's small. It's, in a larger pocket will fit. But if you want to increase the size and make it more comfortable to hold, you could do that. Now, this camera does work best with this 27 millimeter because it's just such a great little street camera. But I found that I actually had more fun shooting with the 18 to 55 because this allowed me to also do video. And so one other thing you should expect is there's no image stabilization in this camera. So you will need a stabilized lens if you're a video shooter. The fully flippable screen is my favorite. It's actually my favorite design for a street camera because you can, if you needed to film some video of yourself, you absolutely could. And it also has the beautiful, you could look down while you're doing photography. This back screen is so well designed too. It's very reminiscent of the X100V, which is the screen doesn't even look like it's a flip up screen. Some of the older cameras, the screen is so fat that it sticks out. This one is very nicely designed. Now, because of the lack of buttons, you will be more dependent on the Q menu and also the swipe functionality. So Fujifilm allows you to use 4 different swipe directions so that you can bring up some functions. So for example, if I swipe to the right, that's where my custom settings are saved. If I swipe to the left, that's where my film simulations are. So you will be using the screen a little more than other Fujifilm cameras because of the lack of buttons. Once I set up the camera, then I was kind of free just to shoot in a semi-auto mode. I shot in aperture priority. I had my white balance, I did have my white balance set, but I also had my film simulation set to Kodachrome 64, a film recipe, and auto ISO, auto shutter speed, and I could just concentrate on taking photographs. And one of the great things is when you use a wide zone for autofocus, it's got a great tracking mode. And so I kept the camera in continuous focus, and just anytime you put a little box on something, it will grab on something and then track it. So I found that was the best way to use this camera. So it was actually fun. It was actually fun shooting street photos without, it was just, Do you know what I'm saying? And I think that's what Fujifilm wanted with this camera was remove all the buttons, remove all the dials. Let's keep it as simple as possible and just think about doing street photography without focus modes and changing your shutter speed. And but overall, I felt that the camera was absolutely super fun to use. I personally am more of a non-minimalist, so I like all the buttons and dials, but I can see the allure of the Fujifilm X-E4. I think in a future iteration of the Fujifilm X-E4, I would love the rear dial at least. And the front, if it had a rear dial and that the little focus switch on the front, I think it would have been still minimal, and it still would have been it would have been just perfect. Perfect. By the way, the viewfinder isn't terrible. It's cramped and small, but I'd rather have a viewfinder than no viewfinder. So I'm glad that Fujifilm, I don't care if they keep this one all forever as long as we have one. Because when it's sunny out or you want to turn the screen off, it's great to frame up your shot. Even though the EVF is not the best, it's a little cramped and small, I absolutely appreciate having it there. Oh, good thing they didn't minimize that. So I recommend it for sure for you street shooters out there, for travelers, and even if you're going to shoot a little video with a stabilized lens, it's an absolute win. All right, hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you guys next time. Although I like the buttons, I'm not going to lie.